use it because I know there will be leftovers and I don't know how to use the leftovers, that's a good thought. Like using all of your leftover yarns for something like that. That would be okay. If you have that problem with a special yarn that you know it's not enough, you'll mix in with another color. Yeah, and I do that trick with other yarns, but I don't do it with special yarn. I just sit here feeling scared instead of actually doing the thing and using the yarn. Living life to the fullest. Yarn. Yeah, Snow Fox, you have a scrap blanket that you're making of all the scraps from yarn dyed by friends. That's cool. That's awesome. Oh, that would feel good to use that blanket too, because then, especially if the yarn was dyed by friends, it's just like a big friend hug when you're using the blanket. That sounds fantastic. Oh, and thank you for the follow, Shidanya. Thank you. Nowhere near done. So you're making a blanket in sock yarn? Oh my gosh. You're amazing. You are amazing. I would be, no, no. I'm scared to start a yarn in just regular worsted weight. Start a blanket in regular worsted weight. Oh, I cannot imagine doing a blanket in sock yarn. Holy butts. You're making a temperature blanket this year? Oh, where'd it go? There it went. Your shipment of wool arrived this week. I think when I do a temperature blanket, I'm going to do my daughter's birth year, and I've already mapped out all the temperatures for all the days for that year. I know basically what yarns I want to buy, but that way it's not something I have to keep up with for doing the current year. So yeah, when I do a temperature blanket, that's probably what it will be. Confetti cake, yes. Yes, that is her choice for birthdays. Was it the wrong word? I mean, the document. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't. For us, it's like report card. But there's something more. Crappers, what's it called? From college. Report card's more like a public school younger grades thing. It's not transcripts. Is it transcripts? I don't know. But okay, I understand. And cake is, yeah, that's a good reason to celebrate. That is a good use of cake. Prince, you love the granny square idea? And if the special yarn is wool, it's nice and warm. That's true. That would be cozy. You wonder if it's legal to have an alpaca in city limits? Asking for a friend who wants to spin alpaca yarn and crochet with it. Definitely not me. Just a friend. You made a gigantic bag with leftover yarns to hold your stash because it's pretty much all leftovers or weird inherited yarn. It's as big as you are and it's so full. Oh man. Yeah, a lot of my yarn that I have is inherited yarn. I've built up a big enough stash on my own, but I got a bunch of yarn from a friend lost their mother about 1.5 to 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly when it was, 1.5 to 2 years ago. So that doubled my stash. She had so much yarn, and they couldn't think of anyone else who would actually use the yarn, so I got a basement full of yarn. And then my grandmother, also, I got a lot of her yarn. And my grandmother's yarn especially is a lot of stuff from the 80s and the 90s and earlier. So some of the yarn from her is just like brands and yarn that you just haven't seen for decades. And I've slowly been using them. Some of the scratchier stuff I've used to make little mini crocheted pumpkins for the fall. So I'll do things like that, so it doesn't matter that it's scratchy. There's odds and ends, bits and pieces and things you can do with that kind of yarn. You work in crochet thread 10 and it's fun. I've done small projects in that, like my sunflower wall hanging things I do in crochet thread 10. But I haven't done a big project in that at all. I think wall hangings, basically doilies that'll stretch in a hoop. That's what I'll use that for. January, your mosaic was in sport. Ooh, and that was bad enough. Yeah. You've been wanting to try sock yarn? I still need to make a pair of socks this year. I was going to make them last year, and I got special, like, self-striping yarn for it and everything. And I already used that yarn to make a different pair of socks, like a different skein of that yarn, to make socks for my mother-in-law 2 Christmases ago. And it was so fun working with it. I'm going to do it again. I just ran out of time last year. So sock yarn's fun. Like, it feels nice. It feels really nice, but it takes forever to work up. Transcripts. Yeah, transcripts is the document you get afterwards to apply to other places. Yeah, so I couldn't think of it either, but you get your grades. I can't think of the term for the actual, like, paper besides report card. Prince, you found a hammock pattern. You were going to do leftovers.